Okay, you ready? Good afternoon. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of January 24, 2024. My name is Tim Rainey, and I'm chairman of the board. We have a newly appointed secretary of the board, Mr. Jeffrey Penzis. So congratulations to him on the new appointment. He's the secretary of the board, and he will give us a roll call now.
Ms. Bostic.
Present.
Ms. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Mr. Claybrook.
Here.
Ms. Scurlock.
Here.
Vice Chair Stavish Towns.
Present.
And Chair Rayner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is the oldest appointed governmental body in Memphis and Shelby County. We were established in 1925. The board hears appeals from the administration of the zoning ordinance, requests for variances from the zoning ordinance, and other requests as articulated by local zoning laws adopted pursuant to the enabling legislation. The 8 members of the board are appointed, 4 by the mayor of Memphis and 4 by the mayor of Shelby County, with confirmation by the Memphis City Council or Shelby County Board of Commissioners. We serve without remuneration. At this time, I'd like to swear in the staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
So move.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Mr. Secretary, please provide us the Secretary's report, if we have one this month, and then explain the procedure for today's meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As for the Secretary's report, there are no announcements. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda can be found at the front podium. For each case, the planner with the Division of Plan Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, those speakers in support will have a total of 5 minutes, and then those speakers in opposition will have a total of 10 minutes. And then finally, the applicant will have 2 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the board. The chairman may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the board will be sworn in by the chairman. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD staff member at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants, and their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the board will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. If the applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing, or if a board member wishes to hear additional testimony from any party, a 2/3 vote is required to reopen the public hearing pursuant to the board's rules of procedure. Please note that once the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and opposition will be allowed to provide additional testimony and or rebuttal. All motions by this board will be made in the affirmative. The private acts governing the board require the affirmative vote of at least 5 members to approve an application, regardless of the number of board members present. The board may also vote to hold an application for a period of not to exceed 3 months with the consent of the applicant or 1 month without the consent of the applicant. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code, or the UDC, which was adopted by the Memphis and Shelby County, Memphis City Council and Shelby County Board of Commissioners in August of 2010 and became effective on January 1st, 2011. I will introduce the entire UDC and make it part of today's record, thus dispensing with individual sections. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today under the provisions of Chapter 9.22 of the UDC. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled as required by the UDC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, the board will establish the consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the Secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience, staff, or board member objects objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the secretary reads that case. Once the consent agenda is established, the board will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on those cases. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible to be placed on consent today?
Item number 1, BOA 23-132 at 4650 Laurel Oaks Drive as a 1-month hold. Item number 2, BOA 23-140 at 3341 Poplar Avenue as a 1-month hold. Item number 5, BOA 23-149 at 3951 Lamar Avenue as a 1-month hold. Item number 6, BOA 23-150 at 4175 Winchester Road as a 1-month hold. Item number 7, BOA 23-153 at 10170 Raleigh LaGrange Road as a 1-month hold. Item number 8, BOA 23-130, 3324 Keystone Avenue as a 1-month hold. Item number 9, BOA 23-155 at 4100 Mill Branch Road as approval with conditions. Item number 10, BOA 23-156 at 9224 Quito Road as approval with conditions. Item number 11, BOA 23-157 at 897 Vita as approval with conditions. Item number 12, BOA 23-158 at 2571 Fight Road as approval with conditions. Item number 13, BOA 23-159 as a hold for 1 month. Item number 14, BOA 23-160 at 1051 North 7th Street as approval with conditions. Item number 15, BOA 23-161 at 6841 Center College Road as a 1-month hold. Item number 16, BOA 23-162 at 1975 Young as approval with conditions. Item number 17, BOA 23-163 at the northwest corner of the intersection of St. Jude Place and Lane Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 18, BOA 23-164 at 2614 Jackson Avenue as approval with conditions. And item number 19, BOA 23-165 at 828 Burclair Road as approval with conditions.
Thank you. So if we could get a motion from the board to approve the consent agenda, which is items number 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 as holds, 9, 10, 11, 12 approval with conditions, 13 as a hold, 14 approval with conditions, 15 as a hold, 16, 17, 18, and 19 all approval with conditions.
So moved.
Second.
All right. I want to remind the board that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Bosnick,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce.
He's not arrived yet.
Mr. Claybrook,
Yes.
Ms. Scurlock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Towns,
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes. All right, the consent agenda has been approved.
Give
So if you-
Campbell what
Oh,
they,
Mr. Campbell.
but it's
I'm
also
sorry.
a yes.
I'm sorry. I guess we had our votes. If you were on any of those cases just placed on consent, you've either been held or approved as requested. So the only cases left to hear today are cases 3 and 4 on Riverside and A.W. Willis. So, Mr. Secretary, if you'll call our first case we're going to hear today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Item number 3, BOA 23-141 at A.W. Willis Avenue and Thomas Street.
And there are a lot of people here for this.
Perfect.
Chick-fil-A case, there are a lot of people here. Well, some of those people are leaving.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition here for this case today? All right, Mr. Skinner, could you give us a brief staff report here? I think they're just wanting to talk about conditions.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Lucas does so many things for us that he.
Yeah, too many jobs. Yeah.
Sorry, a couple hats today. Again, Lucas Skinner with the Division of Planning and Development. This is BOA 2023-141. Again, this request is for 2 variances from the Uptown Special Purpose District. I don't know why this is so loud. Sorry.
That's okay.
A Chick-fil-A at 0 Uptown Street. I'm gonna let Jeffrey try and.
I think you're good.
Okay, a little better. There we go. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
that's all right. Hot mic.
So yeah, I'll be brief with this presentation. So again, this property is located essentially in the heart of Uptown. It's just on the north side of the St. Jude campus. It's right where A.W. Willis, Thomas Street, and Uptown Street all intersect. The zoning, it's MU or mixed use with the neighborhood center overlay. It is currently a vacant site. A few site photos show again it's been vacant. There's been some site improvements for some landscaping as well as sidewalks around the site. And across the street, adjacent to the site, is a Truist Bank that underwent very similar variances in 2009 to this case. The site plan as presented by the applicant shows the building on the north side with ingress egress on the south. Here for the drive-through, and then cars would exit on the north side near the building. Just for clarity, zoomed in. One of the main points that we will probably get discussed today, we'll definitely let the applicant get to, is from the survey. It's been noted that there are fiber optic cable lines running here, as well as a water line here. Just to sort of reorient you, the bank is over here, so this is kind of on the southern end of the site. So in conclusion, the applicant is seeking 2 variances from the Uptown Special Purpose District to allow a drive-through restaurant use Chick-fil-A at the site. The mixed-use zoning calls for front build 2 lines of 0 to 10 feet. As it stands, the building is roughly 46 to 50 feet from Mill Avenue, 85 feet from Thomas, and 37 feet from Overton. Again, just for comparison, the Truist Bank across the street underwent the same variances in 2009. I have some information from the Uptown Community Plan. I'll skip that for now, but I'm happy to go into that in more detail if needed. But essentially, we feel that with sort of the island nature of the site, given its 4 surrounding road frontages, that with maybe some reworking of the site plan itself, we feel that the variance is justified in being approved. So with that being said, we're recommending approval with 8 conditions. And we did include sort of a staff sketch just to show roughly an idea of something that we would potentially look for. It certainly doesn't have to be an end-all, be-all in terms of a site plan, but just to sort of memorialize and show some of the conditions that we have. But with that, I'm available for any questions.
Do you mind going over the conditions real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Just so we all can hear them.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's easier than reading them. So.
Sure, yeah, I'll be kind of quick.
Okay.
So the first is for the applicant to install a modified S9 streetscape with evergreen plantings around the perimeter of the site with a drive-through lane or an equivalent alternative subject to approval from staff. Essentially, any of the existing grass strips between the sidewalk and street may be kept, but an equivalent grass strip shall be added between the sidewalk and A.W. Willis. Number 2, landscape islands in the parking lot shall include a minimum of type C or type D shade tree. Condition 3, the dumpster enclosure shall be at minimum 6 feet in height and contain high quality material, utilizing those seen on the primary structure. Condition 4, site lighting shall be designed to avoid spillover onto adjacent properties and designed so as not to project glare toward the residential properties to the north. Condition 5, the applicant, this is essentially the condition we'll probably talk about the most, but condition 5, the applicant shall rearrange the site to have the building towards the southeast corner, closer to A.W. Willis, and drive through entering from the north end, again, sort of shown on page 18 from the staff sketch. And this condition can be massaged further in conjunction with condition 6, which is that the applicant shall submit an administrative site plan review, including a detailed landscape plan and lighting plan to show compliance with the previously mentioned conditions. Condition 7 is per the previous condition. If the site plan is somehow greatly modified upon a determination that the zoning administrator shall allow the site plan to be submitted back to this body for review and approval. And condition 8 is just that any attempt shall be made by the applicant to preserve and utilize existing trees on the site, especially but not limited to the northeast corner.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Chairman. My question is, the building's 2,700 square feet, correct, a drive-in restaurant. What are what's the number of parking spaces that are required, and how does that compare with what's on the plan right now?
Well, so per the parking ratios, I apologize for not having the exact number on right now, but I believe with that small of a building, they only needed like 7 or 8 parking spaces. I believe it's the 1 to 300 ratio. They're very much overparked. They're providing 49 spaces.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Other questions of staff? All right, thank you very much. If the applicant will come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Afternoon.
Chairman, board members. My name is Dedrick Brithnam. I'm representing Chick-fil-A, and we have a handout for the board, please.
Perfect. If you'll go ahead and give your address too, and I'll swear you.
Yes, sir. My address is 3385 Airways Boulevard, Suite 229, Memphis zip code 38116.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'd like, first of all, I'd like to hand in these
Sure.
handouts, please.
Okay, thank you. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to introduce the team that's here today. Mr. Alan Wiley, he's a professional engineer that designs site plans for Chick-fil-A. We also have here today Mr. Dexter Washington with the Memphis Housing Authority. As you know, Memphis Housing Authority has to sign the application because Memphis Housing Authority is the owner of the subject site.
Okay.
And Ms. Laretha Phillips is here as well with the Memphis Housing Authority. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wiley to go through the slide presentation, and then I'll come back after his presentation.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, if you'll give your name and address to the record, I'll swear you in.
Yep, Alan Wiley, 565 White Pond Drive, Akron, Ohio, 44320.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and share with us.
Can you go to the next? So Chick-fil-A has been serving the customers, or their customers, for 57 years in the U.S., 20 years plus here in the Memphis area, providing guests with great food and remarkable service. They have 2,900 locations in the U.S., 18 here in the Memphis market. GBC has been designing site plans for Chick-fil-A for 19 years. And then Chick-fil-A site plans are designed to be functional, efficient, and with public safety in mind. Go to the next one. This is just a quick zoning map. I wanted to show you that we have MU zoning on 3 sides of the property and then UH zoning on the south side. So for the most part, zoning's all the same. Go ahead. It's all mixed use zoning, except for the hospital. The key permitted land uses in the district include commercial, townhouses, apartments, and institutions. Per UDC code 7311, In the land use zoning matrix, a restaurant is a permitted use by right. Per the property's brownfield agreement, the property is limited, however, to industrial and commercial use only. The townhouses, apartments, residential would go away. The city of Memphis does not provide a map listing primary streets that the building should front on. You can go to the next one. Existing conditions of the property, here's where I wanted to delve into. It's a 1.37 acre site, which is a limited size for a typical Chick-fil-A project, which is why they're looking at doing a drive-through only restaurant here. The property is surrounded on all four sides by public streets, creating an island effect that was mentioned. That does not permit an efficient layout for a drive-through without that drive-through lane being between the building and the right-of-way. Therefore, we gotta, at some point in time, the drive-through lane is gonna have to be between the building and the right-of-way. There are existing easements and utilities crossing the southern third of the property, shown there in the picture. In that easement that's highlighted yellow, there are 3 fiber optic lines. We are not allowed to put any structures over that easement at all. And there's also a water line that does not have an easement that runs through the property there, shown in red. Property is a brownfield site that requires roughly $400,000 to $500,000 remediation to build on it for Chick-fil-A. You can go to the next slide. It's Chick-fil-A site plan shown here that you guys have seen. It was designed so the existing easement and water line are not impacted. The existing easement language that I mentioned does not permit structures. We've met that requirement with this site plan that we've laid out. The site is designed for pedestrian safety, keeping the parking separate from the drive-through. Pedestrians don't have to cross the drive-through to get to that building to go order food. The site is designed for drive-through efficiency and will accommodate 47 cars in the drive-through, which will keep the cars off the public streets, particularly Uptown Street. The Chick-fil-A building is designed for peak efficiency when coupled with an efficient drive-through, minimizing those potential off-site traffic concerns. And as part of this project, we're actually going to widen Uptown Street to 27 feet. That's the proposal, which is 2 13.5-foot lanes for making it easier access. Right now, it's pretty narrow.
How wide did you say it was?
We're going to widen it to 27 feet. Right now, it's about, I want to say 18.
Okay.
Economic impact, project will create roughly 85 to 100 jobs. Property sale proceeds will need to support affordable housing development in Memphis. Currently, there's no property taxes being paid to Memphis or Shelby County for this. And if the Chick-fil-A project is developed, Shelby County will get roughly $60,000 per year in property taxes paid, and the city of Memphis will get roughly $45,000. There's also a TIF on the property for CRA, and then any sales taxes obviously will be paid to Memphis and Shelby County. Next one, thank you. In summary, proposed site plan is the most efficient layout for the operation of a successful business, along with public and team member safety not crossing the drive-through. If the city does require us to change the layout, seller, which is Memphis Housing Authority, will incur additional costs requiring additional soil samples and subsequent review by TDEC for those soil samples, and then cause further delay of the submittal of the brownfield disposition application to HUD by at least 4 months. If the city requires the layout to change, Chick-fil-A would incur substantial costs to relocate those 3 fiber optic lines with the easement and then the existing water line as well. And the property can be developed without having to do those with the current site plan. Respectfully request that conditions number 5 and 8 be removed. We agree with the others, and then we also respectively request that the board votes on the removal of the conditions prior to voting on the variance itself. And Cedric?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to reiterate that Mr. Washington is here. He's the Chief Executive Officer of MHA in case the board has any questions about the site. And also on the voting on conditions number 5 and 8, we'd like to be recognized after the vote on the conditions, if the chair will allow that, please. In the event you vote to delete conditions 5 and 8.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we reserve the rest of our time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay. How much time was that?
4 minutes.
So it'll be 4 minutes in rebuttal, but are there any questions, though?
Well,
Still have
I
4
have
minutes
a
for rebuttal.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to reveal my ignorance about Chick-fil-A. Are there any seats in the drive-through restaurant? Are there any chairs that you sit in to eat inside the restaurant?
No,
Or is
there's
it
no
fully drive-through?
Right, it's drive-through only. There are no seats in the restaurant to go eat in. There will be a patio where we can have customers come up and order food, eat at the patio, or order food and go back to work or walk up to their house to the north. No actual seats inside though.
Okay, and then tell me about the water line. There's no easement for it, like whose is it? What's going on with that y'all
It's
know of?
MLGW water line as far as I'm concerned. Our
Yeah.
Alta survey did not show an easement there.
Sure.
So it is on the property without an easement.
Okay.
Did you say where?
Yeah, it shows,
Lucas, could you go back to the survey showing the water line in the easement? There you go.
That's it.
Thank you.
And then that too.
yeah. Yeah, you can see it's in red up there, so. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you all very much. We'll reserve that time, so you'll have lots of rebuttal. I do have one person here in opposition. So if Ms. Sibley, and Ms. Sibley, if you'll give your name and address for the record for us.
Hello? Okay.
You're there.
I'm Joanne Sibley. I live at 346 Mill Avenue, which is directly across the street.
Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Ms. Sibley.
Okay, the reason I am here is because although it's very nice to say that Chick-fil-A is on an island, if you do that, every block in Memphis is on an island. Because everything in that neighborhood is surrounded by public roads, and that's the definition of an island. The reason I am concerned is that Chick-fil-A is notorious for their lines. And those lines, this street that they're talking about, Uptown, which is right now, although I hear they will widen it, more of an alley than a street. And it goes directly, everybody that turns up in there, it's going to the bank. Okay, right now, that means that they will turn and they will go into the bank or they will go into Chick-fil-A. Either way, we've got a traffic jam. Okay, because Uptown does not continue on. It stops at Mill Avenue, it stops at Willis. It's one block. And for that one block, which is not that big, again, I'm saying, there are going to be cars and cars and cars. And they're going to wind up probably on my street, on Mill Avenue, because they can't park on Willis. But they can park on my street. Or wrap around my street, I guess would be a better way of saying it. Okay, so that's my first problem with it. My second problem is my neighborhood. I'm not from Memphis. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. And I used to live in Chicago. And I used to drive past Memphis to get to Chicago. And you know the first thing I saw? The projects. You could see them from the highway. Now the projects are gone. I moved in there. I moved in there 7 years ago. The neighborhood in general, where I live, is all nicely middle class with every third house, a HUD house, which by the way is now empty because they emptied them more than a year ago and have not repaired or brought people back in for them. So my neighborhood ain't exactly going up right now. Okay? Behind that is the whole Chelsea area, which is a lot poorer. See, nobody's talking about the people that live in this neighborhood. Those people right now tend to walk up and down my street. In the wintertime, I get a lot of homeless knocking on my door. Okay? Now there's a Chick-fil-A. What are they gonna do? They're gonna stop in my neighborhood. Chick-fil-A Chick-fil-A doesn't have any place for them to sit. They're gonna sit on my porch. The stuff they buy there, gonna wind up in my yard. In other words, I look at Chick-fil-A as a total nuisance to my street. More importantly, I think it stops anything from ever being built that my neighborhood needs. It doesn't need a Chick-fil-A. There's a Wendy's on the other side of the street. There's a Kentucky Fried on the other side of the street. Not to mention all the businesses that have come and gone and left buildings that aren't even taken care of on the other side of the street. On my side of the street, my side of the expressway, I guess you'd say, I'd like to see something nice go there. Put a Chick-fil-A there. Chick-fil-A doesn't bring business. Chick-fil-A is always placed somewhere where there's already business. Like on Poplar, already business. They're not bringing neighborhoods up. They're taking advantages of existing neighborhoods. In this case, I suspect existing neighborhood is St. Jude's Hospital and Mud Island. And while my neighborhood should deteriorate because the nurses at St. Jude might want to walk across the street to get a sandwich, or the folks from Mud Island might want to stop by on their way home because they don't want a Chick-fil-A in their neighborhood. I don't understand that. I don't understand why the people that live behind me can't get a grocery store, can't get anything of use, but they can get another fast food place. I hate to say it, but Memphis doesn't need a lot of fast food places. People are already eating out too much, as evidenced by how portly we are. So I object strenuously. And I don't understand why Memphis does not look holistically at a neighborhood. They set up and talk about they're going to be, there's nothing there. It's empty. It may bring other business there. What other business? There's a hospital there. That hospital takes all of that side, everything below this Chick-fil-A, everything above this Chick-fil-A. What other business is going to come? Are you going to ask St. Jude's to move their parking lots or move their hospitals? I don't think so. So what this is a fast food thing that will be sitting by itself forever, but will bring nothing but bad things to my neighborhood and to my street, and therefore I object. And now I'm done. Anything?
All right, any questions for Ms. Sibley?
I have a question, probably for the staff more specifically.
If you'll just hold tight.
Okay, yeah.
No, you go ahead, because we may come back to Ms. Sibley while you're here. So
it's really to her point. I mean, a restaurant is about right use, correct? I mean, so we're not really arguing the use of the parcel. Like, whether it's a grocery store or a restaurant. I think by right, a restaurant could have been built without coming to us if it met the intent of the zoning ordinance. So I just wanted to make sure that the restaurant was, in fact, a by right use here. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, regardless of tenant, a restaurant is allowed.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Sibley?
Just make sure, clarify, a drive-in restaurant is permitted.
Correct.
By
The
right.
Uptown District doesn't necessarily break it down quite like the regular permitted use table, but either way, both are allowed.
Oh,
yes.
because it has a special district zoning, is that what you're
Yes.
talking about? Okay.
Go ahead.
Ms. Sibley, I just want to make, I know we oppose the restaurant in the fast food restaurant.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I know you're opposing the fast food restaurant. The other part, you were concerned about the traffic as far as the drive-through, correct?
And thirdly, I'm concerned about the walking people that are going to walk and decide they can dump their junk in my yard
Gotcha, okay,
and sit on my porch to eat it.
gotcha, okay. I just wanted to clarify, thank you.
And there will be a lot of them because that will be the only fast food, quote unquote, because there are food places up there. There's a barbecue place that's, I guess, a block. There's a popcorn place that's maybe a block and a half. And there's the other way, there's a corner store. Okay, so there are people walking all the time. It's just that now those people will have a reason to stop across my street and to pause because, again, there's no seating.
Right.
You know, they're not going to sit like this today or yesterday out on this little cabana seating. They're talking about some seating area that's going to be some patio that's sitting outside. Well, they can't sit outside on the patio on a cold day, on a hot day, on most days. They're going to stop somewhere where I live. And they're going to act like they live there. And me being who I am, I'm going to go and tell them to move. They're going to get angry. Next thing you know, there's cops. And now we have a problem. And I don't think that should happen since it can be avoided. Again, this Chick-fil-A, contrary to what the little engineer said, is not going to be an anchor anything. Nothing else is going to come there because there is no space for anything else to come there. So, which, confuses me.
to permit the construction of a drive-through establishment on the corner of Riverside Drive and Georgia Avenue. And they would also want to get a permit the use of climate control self-storage in the existing building. An identical plan was approved by the Board of Adjustment in 2013. And this request is compatible with the land use form and location and also the future land use. And the granting of this variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public good, nor will substantially impair the intent and purpose of an adopted plan or the Unified Development Code, nor will it be injurious to the neighborhood or the general welfare. And it will be in harmony with the purpose and the intent of the UDC. Staff recommends approval with conditions. The first condition is based on Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan. A drive-through window would impede multimodal access, hence a drive-through shall not be allowed at this location. Number 2, a final site plan, landscape plan, and elevations shall be submitted for administrative review and approval by the Division of Planning and Development. Number 3, any change or deviation from the site plan upon the determination of the zoning administrator shall be submitted to the Board of Adjustment for review and approval or administrative review and approval by the Division of Planning and Development. That concludes my presentation. Would be happy to answer any question.
I do have a question. On the, from our approval on the Board of Adjustments in 2013, what did we approve? Was it the same
It is
storage?
actually the same thing that they are proposing right now.
Was it with the building on the outside, or was it just the storage part?
I believe that the storage part has been built and it was vacant for like 10 years from now. And also they got the approval for the restaurant, I believe, as well. But I don't think there is any bill. The bank? Yes. They got the approval for the bank, I believe. And as we discussed with the applicant as well, if the drive-through restaurant will not be in agreement with the board members, they are happy to bring back the previous approval that they got for the bank.
But let me ask you, in your condition, if I read that right, there's no drive-through allowed?
Yes. It's for the restaurant.
Okay, so just, I'm a little confused.
Mr. Chairman, we could reword that condition, basically say a drive-through would be allowed for a bank, but no other use. Because I think that's what was approved in 2013. There was a condition that specifically said a bank could have a drive-through, but no other.
Maybe so. I remember the case, but I don't remember the bank. I don't remember anything on the outside. I remember the storage, so I don't remember it real well, apparently.
I don't either. That was here. So that's why I was like, what did we approve?
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, the applicant come forward. If we give your name and address for the record.
I'm Wesley Woodridge with the Renaissance Group. It's 9700 Village Circle in Lakeland, Tennessee.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead and share it with us.
Okay. On the climate control storage, that building is already there. It's always existed. It's just going to be repurposed on the inside for climate control storage. And for the little corner building, I believe last time we did get it approved for a drive-through with a bank, but not for the restaurant use. So we'd like to amend condition number 1, as Jeffrey said, to allow us the bank use with the drive-through only.
Okay. But, so we got approval, so with the existing building, just economic conditions kept it from ever being put into that use?
Yes.
Okay.
There were some other characteristics and conditions of it, but
Gotcha, okay. Any questions for the applicant? I imagine you'll want some time for rebuttal. So,
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
The purpose, what is the existing building currently out there is currently?
it's vacant now.
It's
There's
just-
no use.
Okay.
What was it?
It was the
prior-
old Cummins building.
Yeah, it was just, it was a factory warehouse kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been vacant for quite a while.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one question. Across the street, I guess that's Georgia. What's on the other side of the street? Is that condominiums on the other
It is.
side? Do they face that direction or do they face the other direction, or do you know?
Face all the directions. There's balconies on both sides of that building,
Okay, all right, thanks.
the south and the west. Okay, any other questions? Okay, how much time did we save?
They have 10 total.
You have 10 total minutes for rebuttal.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move to the opposition. And so, yeah, if you want to come, yeah, you can start. If you'll give your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mark Davis, Davis Engineering. I reside at 717 Riverside Drive, which is the Artesian.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board. I'm here today representing the Artesian. I'm the president of the Board of Directors for the Condominium Owners Association. With me today, we have quite a few with us today that are in opposition to this request. I'll ask you to raise your hand, anybody in the room. And I have a slideshow, a PowerPoint presentation I'd like to initiate. Okay. Regarding the application that was mentioned, that was approved in 2013, the Artesian was not even in existence in 2000. It was a shell of a building then, and it was in the process of being finished. So since the 2013 approval, we now have 142 residents directly across the street from the proposed use variance location, as well as many other new residential properties in the general area. What we have today, we have two variances wrapped up in one application. One is the bulk regulations to allow the drive-through for the new proposed building to be at the corner of Georgia and Riverside. The other is a use variance for self-storage in the existing building. I want to start by orienting you to the site. If you'd back up 2 slides, please. Okay, one more. That's the view from the site in question, looking at the Artesian building. Next slide. That's the view from the location of this proposed site, looking at River Tower condominiums. These are all residential condominiums that are owned individually. Next slide. That's, I think it's called 648 Riverside Drive. Next slide. That's the continuation of 648. Now I'm standing, looking west towards the river, and the building on your left is the proposed mini storage. Where that white vehicle is about the location of the new proposed building and drive-through. Okay, next slide. And then that's further away, as you can see. Okay, next slide. That's an aerial view. That's actually from my balcony of my unit that I own. And as you can see, the existing building and the corner right there at Riverside and Georgia is where the new building is proposed to be. And as you can see, it's in full view of all of our units in the Artesian as well as River Tower and 648 as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, per the ordinance, the applicant seeking the variance shall have the burden of presenting evidence sufficient to allow the Board of Adjustment to reach the conclusion set forth below, as the burden of persuasion for those issues. And what it's talking about is the findings of fact that you see highlighted right there. It says the Board of Adjustment must make specific written findings of fact on each variance request in order to approve a variance. There are 3 specific criteria here. Next slide, please. Next. And a total, and 3 more for a total of 6 for the that is required to be met for the bulk variance for the drive-through. There's 1 more, and that's B1, that has to be added for a total of 7 pertaining to the use variance request. Okay, next slide. I'm going to start by just discussing just the application and the request for the bulk variance for the drive-through window. The findings of fact 1, it pertains to unusual characteristics of the property. In the application, the applicant didn't even address the unusual unusual characteristics as it relates to the drive-through. He only discussed the unusual characteristics of the existing building as it related to the use. So there was no evidence submitted about the unusual characteristics to support the drive-through for findings of fact 1. Number 2, practical difficulties or undue hardship. Same thing. If you look at the applicant's response, he in no way addressed the drive-through window. It was only practical difficulties relating to the use. Number 3, and same thing, unusual characteristics found to apply in paragraph 1. Well, in paragraph 1, he didn't in any way address it or provide any evidence to support the drive-through, the variance for the drive-through window. Number 4, the variance from the strict application of this code may be granted without substantial detriment in public good, without substantially impairing the intent and purpose of the adopted plan. Well, our opposition to that is that he stated he has attempted to add the drive-through window in a way that's less visible to the primary street. However, the drive-through window and queuing lanes will be highly visible from the 2 17-story high-rise residential condominium communities and the 4-story mid-rise condominium building located immediately adjacent to where the drive-through is going to be. We consider that substantial detriment to the public good and to the hundreds of adjacent owners and properties that's going to be impacted directly by this. Granting a variance for a drive-through window in the Bluffview residential district, where a drive-through window specifically states in the ordinance, it is not to be permitted. Those words are in the ordinance. And by granting a variance would be substantially detrimental to the public good by setting a precedent to allow drive-through windows in any of the other 6 special purpose districts within the South Central Business Improvement District. Regarding the intent and purpose of the adopted plan of the code, the UDC code specifically states that drive-through windows shall not be permitted, as I stated. There are no existing drive-through windows currently located or even permitted in 5 of the 6 special purpose districts. The nearest existing drive-through window is located 1 mile away in the Gateway District, which is the only special purpose district that permits drive-through windows and that is along Crump Boulevard. Regarding the public amenity objective for the Bluffview Residential District, it is to encourage land uses that will increase the level of street activity, encourage around-the-clock presence of people, as well as encourage land uses that are pedestrian-oriented.
Hey, I'm going to pause just for a second. You have like a minute left total.
How much time have I had?
You've gone about 9 minutes.
You're kidding.
No.
Okay. So, we're in complete opposition to this. The use is, if you would go through to go down to the color slide, I think slide number 15. Okay, what you see there are everything highlighted in yellow is residential use. That's all residential properties. The pink is the proposed site. The ones that aren't highlighted are the only areas that have not been redeveloped. I would venture to say that the two bigger parcels that are not highlighted will be residential. They're completely surrounded by residential. Those will be developed as residential in the future. That leaves a great opportunity here for this site that's before you today and the vacant parcel next to it to be created for a neighborhood commercial type use that would really benefit the adjacent owners of the property. Much more than a mini storage and a building with a drive-through window. We feel like that there's a much higher and better use. And we're, one last thing, because of the failure to meet the requirements of evidence for these findings of fact, we ask that you not approve the variance for the drive-through window and for the use. We feel like that has failed and it's not to be allowed. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the opposition? Okay, hold on, Mr. Davis. I think we have a couple questions. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Well, my question is regarding the opposition to the drive-through. Is that based on the clarification that they made, which was the drive-through strictly for a bank? Is that still in opposition, or was it more so towards a restaurant drive-through?
It's based on the fact that drive-throughs are specifically, our opposition is based on the fact that they're specifically stated that they are not to be permitted in this district. There is a district that they can be permitted in. Like I said, it's along Crump Boulevard, so our opposition is to any drive-through in this district. We're afraid that's just going to open up the opportunity for many more drive-throughs in many of the other districts. And we feel like that's not a good plan. Thank you.
Other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, that's all the opposition time, but it's, we're going to go back to the applicant for rebuttal, which I think we had, 10 minutes, 14 seconds? So if you'll give your name and address for the record.
I'm Trip Tresvant with Tresvant Enterprises at Hamilton Storage. My address 7092 Poplar Avenue.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and share with us.
Yeah, I own Hamilton Storage. We have 9 facilities. We're going to do this one here in Memphis, I hope. What got approved in 2013 is the same thing as what we're now asking for today. A bank with a drive-through is a necessity in order to conduct business. Everybody in the yellow that he's shown, I'm sure will use that bank because it'd be the closest one to them. It'll be the safest one in order to do their banking transactions. Hamilton Storage was voted the best storage in DeSoto County, I believe, about 8 out of the last 9 years. Someone mentioned about landscaping on Trips Nurseries. We've been voted the Tennessee Nursery of the Year, the best residential landscape in the state of Tennessee, the best commercial in the state of Tennessee, the best office, the best multifamily. So when we submit the landscape plan, it'll be unique for the area because we'll do a great job with that. Storage is not a high traffic generator. We may have 7 or 8 customers in there at a time in the 50,000 square feet. We have security cameras, locked doors, so it'll be very safe. And I expect most of the people in that highlighted area, will store their extra belongings in Hamilton Storage. There is a gas station right next door to our facility. He just completely renovated that gas station. So I doubt that'll ever be a residential apartment complex, and I expect everybody you see in yellow shops at that gas station for convenience. So I 100% agree with not having a restaurant in a drive-through. Don't even know go to the reasons, but we'll skip the restaurant on the corner. We would like the bank with the drive-through. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Are there any questions for Mr. Tresvant?
My question goes to the operation of the mini storage or the, whatever you call it when it's in a building like that. How will that work? How will people bring things in and bring them out? And how will it operate?
Yes, ma'am. You can see on the north end, that little square that's highlighted there. We have 2 overhead doors. Cummins had 4 overhead doors to where they unloaded their 18-wheelers. And we're going to use 2 for loading and 2 to store RVs. And that's where a lot of the loading is going to be. There's an overhead door. There'll be an overhead door in the front or double doors, 2 sets of double doors on the west side. And they'll unload, load in there. And that's it. I mean, people generally, when they come store stuff, they come back 6 months, they store it, come back 6 months later and take it and move it out. There are a few that we use, commercial peel stores papers in one of our facilities, Little Debbie's, and they're in there every day. But for the general part, people come in and load, and then when they're ready to move, they come back and get it and move it out again. A lot of times they'll have, unfortunately, someone's death or kids move out of college and they'll come store their stuff. And, we've had people 6, 7, 8 years, never come into their space, just pay the monthly rent. But it's a necessity. Everybody, I know we used them in our businesses. That's why I've got into the storage business. But it's low traffic, so the neighbors sure shouldn't have any problem with low traffic. And we're going to keep the building color the way it is. I love the building. That's why I bought it. And we're definitely going to be less traffic than Cummins that was down there, or definitely less traffic than United States Steel was there before then. And we've all been to a bank. They're neat, they're safe, they're clean. Everybody uses them, and everybody needs them. And I think that's just going to be a good amenity for that corner for the neighborhood.
Portia, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
do you have a specific tenant waiting for the space, the bank, or is this just to keep your options open?
My options are open. If what we're asking for, if we do put a bank there, we're allowed to do a drive-through. And let's just say, for instance, FedEx Kinko's, no longer FedEx Kinko's, but let's just say FedEx Business wants to go there. We wouldn't we wouldn't be able to do a drive-through because it wouldn't be a bank, but, you know, a business type, something like that, that the neighborhood is going to use, that's going to go inside with the neighborhood, and it's going to help, you know, the Hamilton storage as well. So I'll be clear, unless it's a bank, we won't do the drive-through.
Question for staff. Putting another structure there on the corner is allowed by right. It's just the drive-through is the issue, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
A retailer just can't have.
I mean, you could even have like a Subway there without a drive-through. Is that right?
Assuming Bluffview allows a restaurant by right, yes.
Say that again.
I'm hearing yes, a restaurant.
Okay, they
is
just,
allowed
okay.
use.
My eyes are bad. I think, doesn't that show a drive-through on that? That's the same plan that was approved.
Yeah, it shows one on the right
That's the same plan that was
side.
approved in 2013.
Yeah.
What exterior improvements or modifications will be made to the existing building? Because currently it looks industrial. Is there going to be anything?
If you go back to the elevation of the building, there's a colored picture of it. I believe I saw it. It may have been Mark's color. No, we have some outside. We had photographs of the outside.
Okay.
The photo?
But the building is, yeah, right there. I mean, to me, that's a heck of a building. I mean, a lot of these developers are now painting the buildings to make everything, but now they're all looking the same. If you go to the different elevations on that building, I mean, the building is really attractive. The brick is really attractive. There are a couple colors. And I was thinking about painting it, but I just love the building. I love the building.
I like it how it is. That's why I was asking. Yeah.
And we are going to put some signage up, but obviously we go through our sign permit deal, and we are going to landscape. It's going to be beautiful. Inside, we do granite countertops in the bathrooms, granite countertops, stone walls. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful corner. And the neighbors, I don't know. We did the one, it's now extra space there in Chickasaw Gardens. We had a little opposition, but we never had any problem with putting a storage right there in Chickasaw Gardens. And it's still there today.
Okay, other questions?
No, the storage is not a by right use, I'm assuming. Or I know the drive, because this thing was kind of intertwined.
It's a use variance.
It's a use variance for, okay.
Yeah.
Making sure.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if we can get a motion to approve BOA 2023-143 as conditioned by staff with the condition we spoke about being like no, bank-only drive-through allowed. Any discussion?
Motion to
Oh,
discuss.
yeah, I guess we need the motion. Thank you. In a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now we need discussion.
You've already done it.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I guess I'm the defender of the urban landscape today, but I guess that's what I am. Both of these things don't really fit into an urban landscape very well. And we've talked about this before with some other mini storages or what do you call it when it's in one building like that?
Climate control.
Huh?
Climate control.
Climate control. It just kills the street as far as any pedestrian activity or anything like that. It's just like a dead zone. That's what storage does because no one lives there. No one goes to businesses and comes out there. No one goes to coffee shops and comes out there. And so it's just not an urban use. The building at the corner with the drive-through, you know, it's reminiscent of the discussion that we had with the last case about the effect of a driveway when you have an urban area that is planned to be pedestrian, and people that go to live there, and they agreed to live in multi-story buildings and apartment units and so on, but what they get from that is that they can walk out their front door and go to a restaurant and go to a coffee shop, go down to a retail. They don't necessarily have to get in their car to go everywhere. Now, in this case, you know, we have that existing historic building. So that's kind of like, what else you going to use that for? You hate to see it torn down, and so on. And so that's kind of the other thing about this, and I think it is what makes the climate control storage meet the standards for approval, is because it is unusual. I mean, it has a big historic building on it that has to be dealt with one way or the other. And so, anyway, those are my thoughts about it. I would love to see just what Mr. Davis stated. I would love to see a neighborhood commercial go here because, you know, almost the whole district is residential, and it seems like it's crying out for a place where people can go and congregate and eat together and shop and so on. Anyway, that's all I had to say about it.
I agree with you, Mary, on this one. I know we disagreed on the prior case, but I think I can definitely piggyback that. And I was going to ask the question: what are some other permissive uses for this type of property? Because it is or will appear to be a dead zone if we put something of this nature, and maybe, you know, a smaller retail, but it is drawing the larger of the space. And I'm like you, with it being on that far Riverside, there's nothing else. I mean, we did have some other retail places, you know, each case is distinctive, but I think to your point, because they're right there at the end, there's nothing else around. More attractive would be something more of a larger scale retail, shops, restaurant, something of that. But what, quick question too, what is allowable on that particular lot?
Just some of the uses are bakery, bank, barber shop, retail sales and service, music, dance, academy, offices, restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
But I guess those uses can still happen even now. I mean, we're not questioning the use because you have open parcel that can go there. I think for a larger thing to happen would still require the existing building that's there to be dealt with in some capacity, whether it's demolished or repurposed. So I think that's more the bigger question is, you know, I don't know how long this building has sat vacant. You know, that's always the question I want to know, because that puts in perspective how much time or how much effort has gone in to try to figure out another use for it by whoever owned it previously. So, I mean, from a devil's advocate standpoint, I'm just simply saying when someone has invested in a building by purchasing it, you know, it's hard to tell them we got a better use for it. That's all. That was the problem we had with the church one that time, you know. So I definitely understand the connotations of storage units. You know, people associate those with just maybe not the best neighborhood anchor. But if it's not a storage unit, it's a vacant warehouse building. That's kind of my thoughts. And which one would you rather have, a storage unit, or would you rather have a vacant industrial building that I don't know the current condition of it and how long it's going to stay in that current condition as long as it's vacant. So that's kind of a toss-up and question to consider as well.
I think that, when you're dealing with an existing structure, part of what makes it unique is that structure. And so that's why, I remember this, and I remember having discussions with people about it after we decided on that. I think that the storage I can be okay with. I want to ask staff, though, when people say no drive-through, what we typically think is fast food. Like that's what I think. I don't think about, even though banks have drive-through, I don't think about them being drive-through. Is a bank drive-through and a fast food drive-through, are they ever differentiated in the code, or is it just the word drive-through used?
They are differentiated in the use chart. So the use chart specifically prohibits drive-through restaurants in certain areas.
Okay, and here they went drive-through, which was the bigger bucket that got it all.
But I want to follow up on that, and because that question occurred to me when I was reading this staff report earlier. You could interpret a restaurant there as a use variation, because a drive-through restaurant is not in the list of permitted uses for Bluffview residential. But now they've changed it to a bank, so I guess that's a moot question.
But I'm with you. When I think of drive-through, my mind naturally goes towards a restaurant, because I think of a Walgreens. If you put a Walgreens there and you put a pharmacy drive-through window, was that the intent when they mentioned drive-through? Yeah. So I kind of lean towards, in my mind, drive-through being limited to.
But it sounds like the code put the big drive-through in there, not fast food drive-through.
Correct.
Okay. So there's that.
And I agree that this residential, and it is a residential area, and the residential abuts right up to the property in this case. And right now, I don't see a specific tenant. I think it's just an opportunity to have a drive-through just in case they want to sell it or propose a sale to a bank. I would feel more comfortable if there was something specific that was pending, but just a general use for the off chance that we can market better to a different client. And that's not what a use variance to me is for. It's for a specific person, client at a particular time for a necessary hardship. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So are we saying that if they get a bank tenant, a prospective bank tenant, then they'd have to come back to us again to get permission to put a drive-through in for that bank?
Can I?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Well, it's the way I look at it anyway. If we're come to this meeting every month because someone wants to develop on a certain site, and they know what they want to put there, but for one reason or another, the code doesn't allow it. And it's not necessarily that they need to go and get rezoning, or maybe rezoning wouldn't be appropriate. And so they come to us. But I don't think we're a board where you come with a laundry list of different things that you might want to put in there, So that's how I look at it.
So, I'm trying to think how best to do this. have a motion to vote on the two variances separately? Is that a problem just to do that? Like to have a friendly, whatever you'd call that, Mr. Parliamentarian? How could we vote on, I'm looking at you, Mr. Bruce. What would be the correct way of, if we wanted to vote on mini storage separate from the drive-through or the bank? Since we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, got a motion on the floor already. We could amend the motion to focus on one of those issues first, and then come back with the separate motion on the second issue.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to amend the motion to just vote on the mini storage first?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none. So is there any, so we're just voting on the mini storage being allowed in this historic building?
This is a use.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any discussion before we vote on that?
Will we want to put any, just to be sure, we want to put any type of conditions about how we maintain the exterior character of this building?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I was saying, will we want to add any conditions of how the exterior is maintained? Just so I'm just asking that in general, just so you make it a storage use and somebody else get the property and tear it down and they build one of those like U-Haul looking buildings. And
Absolutely. I didn't think about that, but I think it should be limited to being in the existing building. And if it's not using the existing building, then it's not permitted.
if we're allowed to do that, I would feel comfortable doing that as opposed to a blanket storage.
Something like maintaining
Existing historic building.
95% of the facade? There's got to be, there might have to be some small changes.
Yeah, I mean, whatever we feel appropriate, but I think that speaks to the intent of keeping the existing architectural character the same.
It should be only allowed in the existing historic building, not in a new construction building, and the architectural character of the historic building shall be maintained. That's how I would.
What did we do for the Greyhound building?
I don't remember.
Along the same thing.
Yeah.
They had to maintain that.
Yeah. So say that again, Mary. Try it.
Just try it.
Just try.
That the use is only permitted as a reuse of the existing historic building and is not permitted if the existing building is demolished. It would not be permitted in a new construction building. And the architectural character of the existing building shall be preserved. That doesn't say 100%.
No, I like that. I think I would skip your second clause because you've already done it, but it's only allowed in the existing building, maintaining the architectural character of the building, as it is now, today. Is there any objection to adding that as condition 4, I guess? Okay, seeing none, so that's added. Any other thoughts before we vote on that?
Well, I have
Go ahead.
one other thought, and this really just goes out to the neighbors. And one of the reasons why I'm thinking I was thinking I would not vote for this because of what I said. It just kills an urban street, a use like this. But I think that it's always possible that over time, something different might go in here because mini storage probably doesn't, there's not expensive improvements like you'd have for a restaurant and that sort of thing. And so maybe it just keeps the building and storage until possibly something else would go in there. I'm looking at it that way.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts before we vote on that? Okay. Mr. Secretary, will you give us a roll call vote?
Mr. Claybrook.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Bruce?
Yes.
Ms. Bostic?
Yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Gerlach?
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Towns?
No, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are not being met and will be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
Chair Rainey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, motion passes. So can we now get a motion to approve the variance over 7.2.5C, allowing construction of a drive-through establishment at the location? There's a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that before we vote?
I think the UDC, or let me say it that way, the ruling, no drive-through, I really cannot support a drive-through at this location. We have a totally different, I mean, it's not safe. We don't know what it is. I know we said specifically to a bank, I think back in 2013, but I think at that time we had a vendor. I think they actually even had someone in mind for that, which is why they specifically asked for a banking drive-through. Now we're just kind of given a blank check, and I'm not comfortable with that.
There's lots of things you can do that aren't a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, as part of this, condition 1 would be modified essentially to say for a bank only, a drive-through.
You can do that because that'll be included in the vote. So yeah, it would need to be that, correct. So that a vote yes would allow the bank to have a drive-through, a vote no would not. So that would be correct. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for that. If you'll give us a roll call, please.
Mr. Claybrook?
No.
Mr. Campbell?
No.
Mr. Bruce?
No.
Ms. Bostic?
No.
Ms. Baker?
No.
Ms. Gerlach?
No.
Vice Chair Savage Towns?
No, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are not being met and will be duly detrimental to the properties in the